I don't see it yet.
You fucking listen? It's all out here, bro.
Fired by the government for leaking some of the information that they were working on. And mind you, that was way back in the early 70s. And there was a lawyer who wrote a couple books, and that was like 9 years ago, I believe.
Right. I'm gonna have my beer.
Oh, my beer. Don't be an asshole, man.
I'm just saying we're talking about conspiracies here. Actually, we're talking about lizard people.
Well, you know. Have you ever seen a lizard person or not seen a lizard person?
I mean, she could be
She could be a lizard person right now, yeah.
Are you a lizard person?
I don't know, very well could be. You want to come find out?
I think that's
She's
true.
down in our cold and peeling hearts.
Don't make fun of me, please.
No, really, what got you interested in all this?
What do they want with me? All those signs in there, all those symbols, those were for me. That was about me.
Those people are sick.
Justin, maybe I should just give myself up and then you won't get hurt and nobody else will get hurt. And...
No. It's gonna be okay. I'll never let anything happen to you.
I don't want to die.
Never, baby. I won't let that happen. Over there. I have from all these.
Detective Carter, badge number 2186. Need immediate assistance right away at Sector 7. Dispatch. Dispatch.
Nobody fucking move! Nobody gets hurt! We're gonna make this store great again.
You don't know about. I don't control shit. I'm just a figurehead.
Sheriff Barney fucking Fife here let Lewis get killed and lock up. And conveniently, all the cameras are there. And he's saying it's not... Sir, can you please leave my office? Because I'm having a really difficult time respecting my office
I'd be
right
glad
now.
to.
Wow.
Howdy.
Yay. Look at all your tricks. Although next time, tell me you're going to do all that, man.
Gotta keep
All right.
it.
Let's, hey, you guys, we're live, right? All right.
Yes, we are.
Very, very, very cool. We are back. We are back. Stormcrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers with JD Glasscock, which is me, my co-host, Mark Potter. Then, of course, Lola.
Hi there, Lola. It's been a while.
But let's bring our guest right in. First up is a Marvel artist, writer, and you just saw a clip of one of his upcoming his own creations, Finding the Silver Screen, Salem Tusk. Let's bring in Tom Rasch.
Hey guys,
Very
good to
cool.
see you
I
again.
haven't seen your trailer yet, man. That was very cool. I don't know if you caught it, but he played your trailer.
Oh yeah. I was watching actually that and Colton's demo reel both.
Colton's,
So that was a real
excerpt from his film.
Yeah.
Let's in speaking of Colton, let's bring in Colton. Colton is probably one of the fastest rising indie filmmakers I know. He's doing crap everywhere from a fan film that's blowing up for Silent Hill to all his other projects. He's being hired on studio projects all over the place. So let's bring in Colton Dietz.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, it was very cool. I got to watch both your guys' stuff, man. I didn't even know Mark was going to do that.
I had no idea, but Tom, I liked your trailer for your project. I really love steampunk, so I thought it looked pretty awesome.
Yeah, Salem Tusk. Yeah,
I appreciate that. We did do a slight title change. We just call it The Adventures of Salem Tusk because we sort of felt like mentioning the title within the genre felt a little too on the nose. So we simplified it.
All your characters are in the same world, yes, so they could run into each other, right?
You mean for the Salem Tusk story? Or
no, I mean
all of my characters.
All your characters are in the same comic book world, right? Your world is one.
For many years, I used to say no, but I finally decided this last year. I'm kind of sort of mapping all that out, but I did tell.
I think it's smarter to do it that way because then you're creating an IP. You're creating a
shared
IP.
universe. Yeah. And I've sort of figured out how to do that now. Before I sort of was a little protective of each one of them sort of having their own merits, but I've decided in the modern age, like you said, it is smarter to consider a way to sort of have potential, even little Easter eggs or crossovers.
Well, because then you're going to create a block. Then you're going to create, instead of one IP, you're creating a world with a bunch of IPs underneath it. And it's much more of a marketable, sellable thing. But I understand, man, when I first started, I did a lot of decision making that was erroneous, that I learned better. I mean, that's just humanity. We grow and learn as we go. You know what I mean? So sometimes when we're younger artists, and I don't think it's a bad thing, but sometimes our ego gets ahead of us.
Yeah.
And even though maybe our talent merits that ego, we haven't accomplished enough to merit it. You know what I mean? So it's always that. But ego is also a healthy aspect to a certain degree for an artist with talent, because you have to have that confidence, which comes from that same part of that ego in your skills to learn, to grow, to get better, and to be better than to be good enough to garner what you're trying to get. So it's a fine line, and we learn as we grow. So I hear you, man.
Well, and I think, it's a balance.
And Colton being the younger, he started earlier, so I'm sure he's gone through a lot of that, where when he was first starting out, maybe was getting ahead of himself, but he's learned a lot and is growing and all that stuff. You know what I mean? I think we all go through it. You know what I mean? Especially the more talented you are, the more that battle seems to be there. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
And you guys are both very talented, so there you go. I keep asking Colton to put me in as the brown bagging, speaking bad poetry bum in the alleyway, but he won't do it. But anyway, you guys, thanks for being on our show. We haven't had one in 6 months. It's amazing to have such very talented guests. Mark Parter all day has been so excited. He's been doing quadruple backflips with his lightsaber. So,
Nice.
you know what I mean? It's been amazing to watch. He's only fallen badly like 4 or 5 times. So it's very cool. Let's get right into it, man. And the one cool thing about this, and Mark, at some point, are you going to run that little stream of showing where our links are and stuff like that? Mark has come up with all sorts of innovation for the show, and all of this is streaming live. Well, hopefully it is. We're doing it, so I have to check later. But streaming live on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube, all at the same time. Although we're getting reverb, so someone's got volume up somewhere. Anyway, so it's very, very cool. Mark has put a lot of work. It's a new system, new everything, and I think it even looks better. It's more organized, so it's very beautiful. But let's hop right into it. What do you think, Lola? You think that's a good idea? Anyway, let's start with Colton. In the last year, what is something? I kind of have an idea what you're going to go with, but what is something in the last year you've done that you were like super passionate about, and you thought it kicked booty, and you thought it turned out great?
I mean, of course, like you said, you'd probably know it was probably my Silent Hill project, but again, it's a long story short, but I have to thank that video game franchise for getting me into filmmaking. It's a very weird. I played those.
Yeah, I love that. We talked about it before. I love that first Silent Hill. It's probably one of the best video game to movies there's ever been done.
but it was, well, what it was is when I got into filmmaking, I wasn't like the normal, guy that's like that. I knew every director, every cameraman, like I know a dime a dozen of those people in LA. I was a guy that I wanted to be a YouTuber. I wanted to make dumb, sketchy videos. And then it was like after I did that for like a year just for fun, like in junior high, like it was like I think my freshman year of high school. Again, I feel like as creator people, and I think you guys can all agree to this, the younger you are, I feel like creativity is like a muscle in itself, right? So the more you do it, the easier it gets in sort of ways. When you're younger, I feel like doing, trying to copy something and just shooting it like that is easier than trying to make your own script, your own story, because, I think even when I was younger, I wasn't as good as using imagination as I am now for like plots, character development. So anyways, I made a shot for shot, like terrible Silent Hill fan film in high school when I was like a freshman in high school, and it was like a full hour-and-a-half movie, and I played the main character. I had my mom play in it, and it was god awful. So like when I started getting better in filmmaking, I had access to like name talent. I just was like, hey, like, okay, let's shoot this thing. Let's, put a couple of days together. We found somebody to give us a couple of $1,000 to shoot. The budget on that, believe it or not, was $3,000. We shot in 5 days. And I just have like a lot of friends that I've, gotten paid work, like called in favors, got people to volunteer. And that's how we were able to put that project together and get it out there in the festival circuit. But it was like probably some of the most fun I ever had on set.
That is very cool, and your story about the mom was funny, man. But it's blowing up. I mean, let's not forget that aspect. I understand it's your film; you don't want to like spout too much, but that thing is literally blown up. How many views now is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. So on my main channel, I think it's got like 70 or 80,000 views, and then we got like 6,000 likes, which, if you know YouTube's ratio, that's actually like above standard, like for like view to like ratio and then comment ratio. So it seems that the fans liked it. The thing I have to say overall, though, the past couple of years I've learned as a filmmaker is that to really appreciate like the crew and everyone I work with, that I've for better or for worse, I've now had the opportunity to do just about everything from gripping to PAing to the office side of production work to coordinating. And so like to me, film is not like a one guy show. It's really, you get a bunch of guys and girls together, hopefully you get along, and you all try to kind of bring your talents. Like I have a really good friend named Candace. She's hands down the best makeup artist I've ever worked with in my life. I mean, she can make people in Los Angeles working in a studio with a team of 6 people look like morons compared to like her by herself with like no budget. She's just that good. Like,
hey, there's a lot of very, very, very brilliantly talented people that are in the indie world and not in the. And there's also a bunch of people that are in the union, because that I spent 8 years as a stand-in and stuff, making a living. That's all I did. And there's a bunch of people in big shows that suck.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So that's more about opportunity, connections, all that stuff. None of those things, either side, equates to actually skill. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I was on a show, and we won't say the show, but it was backed. He wasn't directly involved, but he produced it. He was backed by Michael Bay. And some of the writers just sucked, dude. And it was a TV show, and literally, it had a writer's room, a bunch of writers and stuff like that. But like, I was like shocked sometimes. Like, I'm like, how much money are they spending per episode? They're spending like $2 million per episode or something like that. I'm like going, wow. I know a bunch of indie guys that could outright these people like any day of the week. You know what I mean? So I don't think when I look at people, I always look at their actual skill, not whether they made it or not made it or. Yeah. But that's very cool, man. Now, Tom, what have you done in the last year? And I have a feeling I like with Colton, I think I know where you're going to go with this, but in the last year, what has happened that you're very passionate, excited about, think's amazing?
I guess I would have to say in general that I've created, or I shouldn't say created, but I've been a part of some great new strategic partnerships, and opportunities seem like they've come back because of that. partnered with these guys, WTF Comics, a little over a year ago, and we just launched a successful crowdfunder for my Black Alpha IP, getting the comic out to an audience that's kind of been waiting around a number of years for a concept. And so that I'm excited about. And then,
this
Salem
is Black
Tusk.
Alpha, yes.
Yeah, Black Alpha I describe as, Batman and Iron Man meets Star Wars. It was published in USA Today. I had merchandise from it on The Big Bang Theory for a number of episodes. I created it as an 11-year-old fifth grader. And in fact, all my IPs all started from childhood through my teens. Salem Tusk I created as a sophomore in high school. So they've literally been with me for decades. But and then the stars kind of.
Well, you're only 22, so it can't be that long ago, man.
Well, yeah, maybe a little farther along than that. Like I joke, I tell people because my daughter's 3.5. I said she gets dad and grandpa all rolled into one. So, but and then that's kind of, there's been some opportunities with Salem Tusk because the clip that you saw, the trailer was something. It was a concept trailer. We had 2 of them. We did 3 years ago to drum up interest and sort of found out the realities of the indie world about the risk adverse kind of producers and investors, et cetera. And I've learned too, obviously, like a lot of us the hard way, it's not really about the merit of IP or the merit of skill or quality or talent. It's always a lot of the politics involved. And, so Bishop and I had reshared Salem Tusk right before Thanksgiving. And I had some people reach out to me who'd never heard of it that run a distribution company. And they were very interested. And then Bishop actually happened to call the same day I had a meeting with these other guys. So it was kind of fortuitous. And we got the ball rolling again and gotten some funding. And so we're going to make a Salem Tusk film. It starts filming in the fall of 2022 with, for those who don't know Bishop Stevens, he's a former WCW, WWE wrestler. He's been in the acting world now for several years and has been like in The Walking Dead, Chicago PD, etc. And he's been my partner on this the whole time and the biggest cheerleader. And also it's a starring vehicle for him. And I think what he liked about it was because because of his background, he kind of gets cast as a heavy sometimes. And this is him just kind of being like an African-American Indiana Jones-esque hero in the steampunk style.
And being
genre.
a lead, yeah.
Yeah. And so he's been very passionate about kind of building this vehicle for him. And so that's a lot of fun. And then, in Black Alpha, like I said, getting the comic out to people, in Black Alpha had been optioned previously over the last 10 years for TV and film and cartoon development. And there was no traction, And so I realized that I had to kind of change strategy too. Like you and I were talking earlier, JD, like without any of that sort of Cinderella story of a Hollywood producer, swinging in and giving you this unlimited budget, how do you still forge ahead and try and get your content out to an audience in its various forms? And
you got to kind of come at it sideways a lot of times, man.
Well, and the problem was about a decade ago, I saw a couple of guys that were making headway, like in Deadline Hollywood, who would actually have their projects optioned. And one only had one issue out of a comic. It was called Non-Player. The other one was a coffee table book about this Gabriel character. I'm trying to remember the name of the actual IP, but I sort of saw that and used it as, honestly, probably not the very best model, because I'm like, well, if I give these guys concept, they'll come in and I'll have a strategic partnership with financing, and then we'll get all the ancillary materials, the toys and the comics and everything, the graphic novels. And that had kind of gotten me some interest, but it just, everyone still kind of circles around to in the comic game. Well, I've never heard of it. You know what I mean? Even though I bring up, well, nobody ever heard of Star Wars, or, even Game of Thrones and Walking Dead are based on a book series and comic, but to the general public, they've never heard of it. And that's kind of the uphill battle I face, is that everyone still tries to throw out that excuse. Well, no one's heard of it. And I'm like, well, everything has to be introduced to an audience. Everything.
Well, a lot of it is catch-22, man. A lot of it is catch-22. It's like they want it to be already known for them to want to back it financially, but to get it back, but to get it known, you has to be back financially. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
if
you look at it, I was going to say, if you look at any of the breakout hits through history, though, that's what's funny, is that that's lost on them. Like even stuff I just brought up, like The Walking Dead and Game of Thrones, since they weren't known to the general audiences, they blew up.
Yeah, but they do have, there's several reasons for that, and a lot of production companies specifically go after. They go after authors, not screenwriters. They go after authors, and there's several reasons for that. But most times it's because usually novel authors have almost no experience in film. And so usually they can get these IPs under like really favorable contracts to the producer and give them ownership and control. Like all these different, I won't say the names, but all these different websites that do these pitch your project, pay to have your projects looked at. Most of what they're looking for is not screenwriters. Most of what they're looking for, and they focus on marketing wise, is novelists to pitch their novels for film. And so it's very now granted, Game of Thrones was huge though in fantasy fiction. I mean, George R.R. Martin, that was literally since he pretty much was the biggest thing since Robert Jordan, Wheel of Time. So and in fact, he was inspired by Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time to write Game of Thrones. But it was pretty huge though, had like a large following. So it was definitely a known IP as far as people that are going into fantasy literature and looking for a big IP. Game of Thrones was pretty big in that realm.
Well, and I agree. I feel like but the niche market, like I said, to the general audience.
Yeah, a lot of people didn't know what it was.
Same thing with the comic book and like with The Walking Dead. If you walked and got like 20 people on the street, if they'd ever heard of the things that become these pop culture juggernauts, probably 90% of them are going to say no. And that's kind of my argument against this. But with all that being said, I had to kind of realize, well, in comics too, or graphic novels, there's sort of a quick storyboard presentation of IP and story, right? I mean, like if you're going to throw a full script at somebody or a comic book, the producers will probably flip through the comic book because in their eyes are like, well, I get most of this based upon the yeah. But and of course, there's also the other argument that I've sort of argued against for years too, is that well, we've already got this, meaning I could say the same argument for like Game of Thrones. We've already got Lord of the Rings, that kind of stuff to the layperson, I'm saying, or the producer. We've already got, we already had Night of the Living Dead. Zombies do not sell.
Romero, yeah.
Yeah. So I still kind of bring that up when somebody's like, well, there's already Star Trek and Star Wars out there for space opera IP and or a number of other things. And I'm like, but my approach, and I've been very, I guess, transparent about it, is I create what I love. And I'm very open with my influences. And I just say I sort of create something that the audience will hopefully find familiar and comforting.
Just keep doing you, man. I mean, just keep doing you. I'm so proud of both of you guys because you've both been on my page for probably about 2.5 years, probably 3 years around that time. And I've seen such exponential growth within that period, man, of opportunities coming and things opening up. And from the very first conversations you and I had, Tom, where you were kind of disgruntled and very unhappy at that time, saying nothing was moving, nothing was going. Colton was doing, I think, was it a poisonous fruit or something like that?
Yeah, I was trying to get financing for that.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, and that was like one of your first big projects, right?
Yeah.
At the time. And so to see where you've gone from there to here, I think is I'm proud of both of you. I think it's very beautiful. I think it's very I think it's very is very inspiring to a lot of other filmmakers. And in fact, I see Colton playing that on that all the time. You're always throwing out how-tos and information like YouTube's they're trying to explain to younger or beginning filmmakers how to do a lot of what you're trying to do. So it's very, very, very cool, man. Although, you know what? I always keep saying enough zombies, man. Ghouls and whites are heavily underused, man. Because I had a guy once hire me to write. He wanted to spec few scenes, like 2-3 scenes. Because he said he like many people, he said he had fun. He had a investor that was interested but in a concept, but he hadn't he's not a writer. And all he gave me was Christmas and he wanted zombies. That was it. I'm like, you have an investor and that's all you told him? You're writing something about Christmas and zombies? I'm like, first of all, I'll do it, but there's no way in hell I'm going to write zombies. I'm like, and what I ended up writing was about 20 pages using Christmas and ghouls and whites, dude. Because they're like intelligent, fast zombies, man. So, but it was funny. But yeah, if I see one more, like they just did another one, vampire. I'm like vampires and zombies. I don't know how many ways you can do it. The Australian one that just came out with vampires, man. Fire bite or whatever. Have you seen it yet?
I've never even heard of it.
Oh yeah, they're promoting the heck out of it lately. I tried to watch it. It was actually some decent action, but the writing and acting was like really bad. But it's made in Australia.
Fire
they've been
bite.
doing a lot of promotion on Facebook and a bunch of other places. But enough of that. Let's get on to the next part. Colton, what is something you are currently working on that you feel like it's going to just kick booty and be amazing? And
well, there's a couple of projects I can't really talk about because of NDAs, and like it's not, they're not my babies, so I'm just helping do some producing for it. But I'm really excited to see some stuff in the animation world. I'll just put it that way. It's specifically in anime. So could be some cool dubbing stuff coming up, but I won't know anything about that for a couple more months.
Well, you're going to be a voice actor, dude?
No.
You're going to be your name's going to be Jib, and you're going to be like, "Hey man, what's up?"
Yeah, yeah. I got hired to write and my investor for my feature. He really liked what he saw, so I kind of like you were just saying with aliens, Christmas and zombies. I had a situation like that where my investor, they had an idea for a project, but they didn't really give me, and they just were like aliens coming of age story. And so I kind of just, I showed them like things like Super 8s, things like Stranger Things, ET obviously.
Hey,
so
I actually worked on that Super 8.
You did?
Yeah.
Lucky. Well, I really love them. Well, anyways, I'm writing a coming of age Spielbergy whimsical kind of feature film story that deals with like an alien landing and bonding with a father, basically a human child and the alien child who takes a human form. They become friends, and like they, like the main character who's the human child is going through the trauma of losing her mother from cancer, and that's kind of like the beginning of the script. And then so it skips 6 months, and then she's a troubled child. And so it's like, but I'm really writing it in that kind of like Super 8, Stranger Things kind of vibe, but it's a real coming to age tale. And so like, but I've always wanted to shoot something like that, but I've never obviously had the money, that's kind of expensive to do. But like, again, I was hired to do it. So it's even more fun because it's, I didn't have to like hustle to find investors, but we're working with the local Air Force unit to be able to film at the Air Force base that's by our state. There's a thing called a Titan II missile silo, which was the nuclear silos they used in the Cold War. Arizona actually has a museum of one, and one of my buddies who got me the SWAT team in my other film, he talks to the state senator of Arizona, and so we're pending approval to be able to film at the old museum because it's now, of course, decommissioned. But I mean, if we get those things, the production value would be just insane. So like, I'm really, really excited to work on that. And I actually casted Vic from Silent Hill. He's going to be playing the father figure. Jessica Morris is going to be in the film to play the wife, and probably put Eric Roberts somewhere because he does every indie film. But
and then remember, brown bagging homeless guy doing and bad JD poetry. Remember,
Glasscock will have to be in the film too.
When the end credits, man, to say, hey, we threw a Glasscock in there.
When you say Vic, are you talking about Vic Mignogna?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I love the Star Trek stuff he does. So
yeah, he's I met him in like 2017, and we've done a couple of projects with each other now. I worked for a studio called Sun Studios, and he played the main villain in that. So they're still editing it, but he just like, so he's primarily known for anime voice acting, and he did Star Trek, but he's legitimately like one of the best actors I've ever directed. Like every like he truly like you know what I mean, JD. There's a lot of actors that they'll say they read your script but they understand the character at like the surface level. Vic is one of those characters, like he'll call you up and have 10-12 phone calls and ask me as the director exactly like, what are we going for here?
That's rare because I almost never get that, man. All I get is on the day we're shooting, even though they've had the script for like 2 months. On the day they're shooting, they'll ask me some very surface level, rudimentary question.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas like I said, of Vic, he wanted to know like even though in Silent Hill 2, which again I didn't create that video game, so I kind of had to answer the best of what I understood, playing the game. I didn't write that story. So he was asking, he was like, well, why'd my wife die? And then I just straight up told him, I said, well, the wife dying in the game, it's kind of left up for interpretation. But I told him, this is my interpretation of what she was sick of. Even though the game just hints at it, I gave him that so the actor would understand his emotional stat. But that's what I love about him, is he fully, because he's a director too, and like you said, most actors, they'll tell you 5 minutes before call time, basically, okay, what am I doing here? Whereas, like I said, Vic really knew that, that skin. And it's the same thing for the script I'm writing now. I sent him like early drafts because we're personal friends, but he was already asking like, how would an officer speak? And he started talking to one of his Air Force officer buddies that way. Cause I'm sure you guys know, but when you're really in the service, it's not like in a military movie where everyone's just screaming and sir, yes, sir. It's a lot of like guys just goofing off and stuff. So he wanted to give off that proper emotion where, again, it was like the same thing when we, filmed Silent Hill. He's winning awards as an actor in that, and all the positive comments being like, man, he blew it away. And that's what he wants as the Air Force character. He wants someone in the Air Force to buy, yeah, this guy's a lieutenant colonel. Not, he's not trying to Top Gun the performance where he dresses cool in the uniform. He wants to walk and talk like how a lieutenant colonel would walk and talk in the real life United States Air Force.
Well, he wants death.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people, and then they wonder why their acting careers aren't doing very well, that just want to kind of show up, put the rudimentary amount effort into it, and then go hand me my awards.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and that's why I honestly believe, actors should not be just actor. Actors should, study scripts and like get into the heart of what the writer is putting onto paper, because they're putting their heart and soul into the paper, or digital format, and then directing. How are you going to better your craft if you only know one side of the world? That's like living in America and just like completely forgetting about what's going on in United Kingdom and everywhere else. I'm just going to stick on my side of the road. I'm not going to go both lanes. That's why I think.
Well, and they should also be able to do acrobatic moves with the lightsaber.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I believe.
Yeah.
But by the way, one other thing I wanted to mention about Vic is also he has Shatner's hairstyle down to a T of the original series on those Star Trek fan series that they do. I mean, how it's hard for people to have other, obviously, actors step into that role because of how iconic Shatner's just everything of Shatnerisms are. Yeah. But I think Vic actually
pause dialed in.
No, and that's what I love is he looks the part actually, but in a lot of ways. But I love the fact that he's giving it his own performance.
He doesn't have the Spock.
Yeah,
I really must do this.
No, and he's good. I mean, like I said, I've been impressed with the just kind of the production quality of those shows, and like you said, even his acting, I think is pretty spot on for like the quality. I think that you're talking about with them.
Oh, Vic's one of those guys. I went to his house because he helped me with some of the post-production work in Silent Hill. So I flew out to Texas and we hung out.
He's over by me.
Yeah, he lives outside of Dallas. I think
that's where I'm at.
For Fort Worth.
Yeah,
I'm in Denton, which is about 30 minutes from Fort Worth.
Oh,
well, it just such a sweet guy. But his house was a beautiful house. Had a freaking custom theater room in his we watched Iron Man in his theater room, and literally he has like these sound booths underneath every seat. So like I remember when the explosion went off in the movie, it felt like the room was shaking. It was I was like, man, I need this.
Every time there was an explosion, your ass was vibrating.
Yeah, exactly. It was like the best. But anyways, my point is Vic's one of those few people that somehow is just like talented in every, like he's clearly a good film director. He's like before he, he's primarily known again in the public world as an anime superstar, but before that he released like 6 albums that were like phenomenal, made money. Like I'm talking Christmas music, original songs. He's a piano player. He like at his church, he plays piano for his church. but he also played, piano for his own music, and he does singing. He does post-production sound work. It's like there's like nothing, the guy's pretty good at camera work too. Like, it's like there's nothing, what I mean? There's no niche that he's like bad at. It's just crazy for me to see like an actor that like is, because like you guys said, like most actors, they barely can read the script, let alone understand it. But like I know most actors I deal with, they would never in a million years want to be a director, let alone like ever have the mindset to think the patience it takes to make a movie. They just, they think they come there, put their costume on, do their thing. Whereas like, Vic, what I love about working with him is, again, with him being a director, he understands that yes, actors, talent, they make and break a movie, making it, emotional and all that, but it takes a whole team to make a movie. So like, he's not sitting there complaining, oh, why are we waiting for lights? Oh, why do I got to wear this itchy mic? It's, he understands those aspects of production. So if I can find other actors like that, they're like the first person I'm going to cast in a film.
I hear you. Although I think they're few and far between. So I don't know if you want to wait for that. So, like if there was 100 of you, then you wouldn't be so unique. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like there's 100 of Tom or 100 of me or 100 of Mark. When you meet individuals, like we all know each other, whatever. When you meet people with a gift, I wish more people understood how rare that is and appreciated those contacts they have that have those gifts. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
A lot of times I see in this industry, it's more looking at it from a competitive standpoint, even if they're friends. Oh, that's my competitor. That's not, and they're not very supportive of each other. You know what I mean? And
right.
Yeah.
Or it's like, what can he do for me? Or what can he, besides the brown bagging homeless guy, I don't know if I've ever asked any of you for really anything. You know what I mean? All I've ever done is try to support you guys, and I wish there was more of that. I think in the industry instead of more of the competitive vibe with each other. You know what I mean? But such is life, Now let's jump on to Tom. Tom, what are you currently working on that you're amped about, man? Doesn't mean you have to be on a seat that vibrates your ass when it gets excited, man. But
well, like building my comic book shared universe further, and the different components of that are coming into place. And then I shared about a week or so ago. I don't want to jinx it, and I kind of left it somewhat ambiguous, but I begun talks with a major streaming service that rhymes with Betflix. And that's something that I've wanted.
Wow, I wonder who that is.
Exactly. I that was one of the things I used to lament about for years was that, and I don't want to disrespect anybody, and I've always appreciated if anybody is interested in what I'm doing, but I had never gotten in that circle or that arena to have my material be put in front of the major players like a Paramount or a Sony. And I just kind of was like, well, like we talked about earlier, I was just kind of resigning myself to going, well, if I never get to that place, what am I going to do to make this happen? And so, in sort of a random circumstance by a friend of mine who's a screenwriter, and he made an introduction to the major streaming service that rhymes with Betflix. And we've begun some talks, and I'm trying not to jinx it, but it's cool that I finally have that opportunity that I've been waiting several years for to, and if nothing comes of it, that's okay, because I feel like at least I'm getting a shot now, and on a shot to say, and it's not just one, it's a number of
I just think you just need to keep your head down and keep pushing like you have been, man. Keep expanding your things, keep expanding your moves. Don't put too much pressure on any one thing. Let it put enough work into it to see it rolling, then move your focus to something else so you're not over analyzing it, and then push in a different direction and keep doing those things. And sooner or later, something will pop. You have too much talent. You have too much creativity. You have great IPs, and the whole world right now is into superheroes and all that stuff. So, like right now, I'm about halfway through on my sixth feature, and I'm about to work on another one. But the next one, I moved ahead of another one because the simple fact is what the IP is about and what's really people are into right now. But you have a whole world of IPs that fit what is popular at the moment. I don't think you should ever chase that, but that you have that and it is popular is a beautiful thing. You know what I mean?
Well,
like
and
I hated when bullying was popular, and all of a sudden everybody and their brother wanted to make a bullying film. You know what I mean? I don't think you should ever do that. I think you should just do what is natural to you. But naturally to you is IPs that are popular right now. So,
well, I will say first of all, thank you, because I feel like the one thing that people hopefully comes through in what I'm doing is the passion, the almost the childlike glee, because it's been like a lot of us here, storytelling is something that's been around since I was very young. Probably didn't even realize it being even 6 or 7 years old that's what I eventually knew my path was going to be, whether it be through comics or, film or television, any kind of, or storytelling in general. Right. And
no, I agree. I said it. I've always been the same. The only thing that's changed is the medium.
Yeah, exactly. So I appreciate the fact that like my characters are all pretty diverse from each other before there was this kind of diversion, or diversity agenda. And I have said this before too, that, there's a lot of, ups and downs for any of us who do this, right? I mean, it's not for the faint of heart. That's a cliche, but it's true.
Because you have to sacrifice a lot. A lot of times you have to sacrifice focusing on a career that might make you a lot of money.
Yeah.
So that
and just the emotional roller coaster,
this art that might not ever make you money. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so, and the roller coaster of this is going to happen, it's not going to happen, over and over again. The rejection that goes with it, and so you definitely
all the people that tell you, "Oh, I'm going to invest," and then they end up being full of crap. That happens like.
Yep.
Oh my
that's
God!
A day, that's
if I
a day
could
at
tell
the
all
office.
the young people that come up to me and say, "Oh, I got an investor," and just say, "Hey, slow the roll," until the money is literally in escrow or whatever.
Well, see, that's what makes you appreciate it a lot more too.
No, and I wish everyone success, dude. If they end up having an investor that does invest, beautiful, great. But what I'm saying is, my own experience and the people I know, about 9.9 out of every 10 people that say they got money that they're gonna give you don't got shit. So I would just always just focus on doing your thing and getting it done and creating more and more and more and more and more product. And those doors will open if you do so, because you have the ability. Now, if you're like me and extremely self-delusional and absolutely have no talent, then maybe it's not the greatest idea. But you guys are both really talented, and you're actually going to be able to see that fulfillment. You know what I mean? So,
well, I will say this. One of the things I've loved about social media, there's some things I can't stand about social media, but I love the fact that it gives people like us the ability to connect. I mean, there's a kindredship and kind of a bonding, sort of a shield you can have when people understand your experiences besides your passion for it, right? Mm-hmm. To know that, there is something that kind of makes me feel like I've got extended family, watching you guys, even in your different journeys. I feel like I know you so well and in kind of an unusual way, like we've never met in person, but watching the trials and tribulations with everybody sort of just cements for me that you're not alone. And, not that you need a ton of people to, I guess, to reaffirm what you're doing, but I think it does help. And I will say this, when you were talking about forging ahead, I sent Mark a picture of this. Like, I partnered up with these guys last year that are going to make a model kit of the ship from Black Alpha. I've wanted a model kit of one of my designs since I was a young child. We're making it happen. Production begins next week. The kits will be released in May, possibly for sale. I'm doing kind of like JD, same thing. I'm trying to do everything that I can to create what I love and find other ways of doing it rather than waiting for some big toy or model company to come in and offer me a licensing deal, and I had a guy approach me. We still talk about 2 to 3 years ago. He's been wanting to get these theme parks off the ground, and he wants to do a Black Alpha and Salem Tusk theme park attraction, but it's like a lot of people, he's got to make his, got to get his funding completed, et cetera, and have sometimes him and I give each other pep talks because he goes through it too. His dream is to build theme parks. He has a lot of experience, but he's had investors that were there and then disappear, so he understands the journey too. But, and getting the comment.
That's it. I think it's just finding a support group of like-minded individuals. And again, finding people that don't see you as competition, but want to just support you. You know what I mean? They don't want anything from you. They're not like, that's the part I don't like. I've been close a few times. And people that were supposedly my friends, as soon as I got close, they started just asking me for everything. They were like, "Oh, well, can you give them my script? Oh, wait, can you?" And I'm like, and it really quickly told me that these are not really my friends, man. Like they're just like around waiting to see who they can get what from, to further them. You know what I mean? And when you find like individuals that are not trying to ride your coattails or ask something for you and they just support you, keep those people close. Now, granted, if I was in a position, I would try to help people, but I wouldn't be helping the people that were like in my ear going, give me this, give me that. Like, that's not the people I would be helping. You know what I mean? Regardless of their ability or talent or any of that stuff, man. I would want to support the people that are just doing their own thing with their nose to the grindstone, getting good shit done. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just keep doing you. Both of you guys just keep doing you. I just, like I said, in the few years I've known you, the growth I've seen from both of you in getting shit done and having opportunities has been exponential in that short time. Now, I know both of you immersed in the middle of it might not see how much growth that's been, but I'm telling you from an observer, observing both of you and all your posts and all that stuff for the last couple years, it's been exponential. And it's inspiring and it's beautiful, and I'm very happy for both of you. So just keep doing the things that you've been doing the last couple years, and then you're going to get there. You know what I mean? So what we're going to do, though, is we're going to take a 5-minute break. We're going to come back. I'm going to have Mark play those reels again of your guys' stuff. That way, if anyone's watching the recorded versions, they'll see it in the beginning, and then they'll see it in the middle as well. And then also play that little ticking bar again, Mark, during our break. I don't know if you can do both of those things, play their clips and have that ticking bar at the bottom.
It'll mess with the video. But
so play their stuff, and then at the end of the break, you can do the little ticking thing, and then we'll come back. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the future and some dreams and plans you have for the next few years that you want to see accomplished, or at least start stepping towards. We'll also have Mark do a quadruple backflip with a twin lightsaber, and hopefully won't kill himself or his animals or his wife. But you know what I mean? But, we'll have emergency people standing by. Although the emergency people is a raccoon that lives right around the corner from him because he's out in the boonies.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
That nearest town 30 minutes. So.
Shoot. Wow.
But anyway, we'll be back in 5 minutes. You guys have been watching Stormcrow, Dreamers Talking to Dreamers, our return episode 47, with Tom Rasch and Colton Dietz. And, of course, Lola, who's laying over there and doesn't want to be bothered. And then Mark Potter. And, of course, my name is JD. But anyway, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Take a watch of both of these guys' amazing work and a couple trailers that Mark is going to play for you right now. And then we'll come back and talk about the future.
All right. Sounds good.
Fired by the government for leaking some of the information that they were working on. And mind you, that was way back in the early 70s. And there was a lawyer who wrote a couple books, and that was like 9 years ago, I believe.
Right. I'm gonna have my beer.
Oh, my beer. Don't be an asshole, man.
I'm just saying, we're talking about conspiracies here. We're talking about lizard people.
Oh, you don't know. Have you ever seen a lizard person or not seen a lizard person?
I mean, she could be a
lizard person
yeah.
right now, yeah.
Are you a lizard person?
I don't know. Very well could be. You want to come find out?
I think that's
She's
true.
down in our cold and feeling harsh.
Don't make fun of me, please.
No, really, what got you interested in all this?
What do they want with me? All those signs in there, all those symbols, those were for me. That was about me.
Those people are sick.
Justin, maybe I should just give myself up and then you won't get hurt and nobody else will get hurt. And...
No. It's gonna be okay. I'll never let anything happen to you.
I don't want to die.
Never, baby. I won't let that happen. Over there. About half a mile east.
Detective Carter, badge number 2186. You need immediate assistance right away at Sector 7. Dispatch. Dispatch.
Nobody fucking move! Nobody gets hurt! I'm gonna make this store great again.
You don't know about. I don't control shit. I'm just a figurehead.
Sheriff Barney fucking Fife here let Lewis get killed and lock up. And conveniently, all the cameras are there. And he's saying it's not... Sir, can you please leave my office? Because I'm having a really difficult time respecting my office.
I'd be
right
glad
now.
to.
All right.
You try to call me?
Yeah.
Oh, why?
We lost Colton.
Oh, did he click out?
I guess. I don't know. There he is.
He just probably clicked off the link and clicked back in.
Hello?
Hey,
we can hear you, Colton, but you have to allow your video. Your video's not up.
Yeah, okay. 1 second. Let me try to get this damn thing going. Sorry.
No worries. Did you play both reels again, Mark?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was outside with Lola. Very cool. Hey, and just to piggyback a little bit off, we're live again, right? Yeah.
Yes, we are.
Piggyback. Hello, everyone. We're back. I hope you loved the trailers from both of our guests. I think they're amazing. Piggyback off, Colton is seeing what we were talking about right now. He has literally kept his nose to the grindstone, found love, moved to Vegas, and then literally he is starting to get hired for, he has been hired in the last year and on to major network stuff. He is getting hired to do that kind of stuff, and all because he kept his nose to the grindstone and just kept creating stuff any which way he could. You know what I mean? So are you outside now? Are you taking a nature walk, Colton?
No, I had to move. So, like, that was the only thing I wasn't in control of. Not with you guys. It was the current gig I'm on, which I don't want to say because I don't want to get in trouble or something. They pushed us way. I was supposed to be done like 4 hours ago, and we got done literally right before the stream, where I had like just enough time to run to my car to get on the stream.
Oh, were you in your car before?
Yeah, I was in my car the whole time.
Oh my God, man! We had that happen once, dude.
But I couldn't. Like, you know how it is with like union gigs. You can't just be like, oh, I gotta leave. We were scheduled literally like we ran like way into time and a half. We were like literally supposed to be done at like 4 o'clock. This is
production.
It's for the NFL Pro Bowl.
And what were you doing on it?
So we're doing production videographing work, but right now we're setting all the tents and everything up for the show. So I'm here for like 9 days, basically.
Wow, we only had that happen once before, and that was a disaster. The guy was like literally hadn't made it to his house. His phone was dying. He was out in the streets. He went somewhere else. Then his phone died. Then literally in the middle of the show, all of a sudden he appeared again.
Yeah, no, I promised myself I would purposely not try to like.
Your sound just went
audio.
out. Your audio just went out, brother. There you go.
Yeah, can you see me?
Yeah, except we ended with "I promised myself," and then it went out.
Oh, I was just trying to say that, like, I just want to let you know I wasn't trying to disrespect your show. I just wasn't in control of the timing.
No, it's fine, man. We could do the Jimmy Kimmel spick. You can go up to people on the street and start asking questions, dude.
Yeah.
There you go.
Who wants to be a filmmaker?
Now, if you didn't know Colton, you would think he's like this stone-faced, serious guy, but he actually is kind of a funny, like, you know what I mean? Like you actually laugh a lot, but so far we've seen. Are you actually driving right now, or are you walking?
No. I'm driving, but I'm like using my eyes. That's why my eyes aren't looking at the camera.
No. Okay, they say like don't drive and text, but I'm pretty sure they mean also don't drive and be on a live interview.
I'm literally like almost. I just wanted to get home, so I almost made it before the break was over. I just didn't want to just sit in a parking lot like a weird guy.
All right, because I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna use it as found footage if you die right now live on camera.
No, that's fine. That will be. It's the opening to your next movie.
Yeah, I'm telling you right now. This guy, filmmaker who dies and then comes back as an alien ghost.
Yeah, that's a little bit better now.
The updated.
Anyway, all right. So let's talk about. We'll let Colton try to make it home, and we'll start with Tom at this point. In the next year, what do you have planned? What do you want to do? What do you want to accomplish in the next year?
Well, on a side personal note, I'm actually supposed to be doing a Stan Lee style cameo when the Salem Test movie starts filming in the fall.
I know. I already saw your outfit.
Yeah, so I'm actually thinking that'll be kind of fun. A lot of people don't know this about me. When I was younger, I did a little bit of acting, more so like for stage. And I sort of kind of like left that by the wayside, I guess, as I got older, kind of focusing more on a storyteller. But there have been times that acting opportunities kind of have been presented that didn't work out. So this will be the closest thing. Hopefully I'll get to it by just doing a cameo. And you've inspired me by, what is it, the brown bagging person in the alley?
Yeah. If you need a brown bagging homeless dude that recites bad poetry, then let me know.
Maybe we'll sit next to each other and kind of be a couple of these street bums.
Yeah.
Just kind of going off on prose or whatever. But yeah, in the next year, I guess, I just want to continue forging forward and continuing to have a better attitude about all this. Because like you said, you've heard me lament a number of times, where it's so easy to go, okay,
do the same thing, man.
I'm done. Draining. I've had my fill, that kind of stuff.
It gets draining, especially all the people that just keep talking and talking and talking at you. And they're all kind of, we won't mention her name, but there's a very good example of that. But she was just one of many. She was one of many over the last, I've been doing film for like 15 years, but music another 15 years before that. And it's just, you meet the same people in music as you do in film that like to talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And there's actually no substance to anything coming out of their mouth. And it gets draining. I get it. But I've gotten to the point now where I just like and I'm just focusing on my stuff. And luckily, I was very like you with your Salem Tusk. Luckily, I had a beautiful spirit step up and invest in the video game.
Mm-hmm.
And they've already been working on that for like 8 months. So it should be ready in about another 4 months. Hopefully it'll do well. But I think no matter whether it makes money or not, I think at the very, very, very least, it's going to raise heavily the IP of one of my films. And I think it'll open a door. It might not be the door I envision, but I think it'll open something. It'll open something up. Colton, where are you? Are you still there?
Must have lost him again for a minute.
I'm typing at him now. It looked like he was typing at me. I thought I heard a siren though, man. So maybe he was getting pulled over.
Yep. Well, no, this is the death scene coming up. Like you said, the found
talking on the
footage.
phone? No, sir. I was getting interviewed on the phone while I was driving.
Oh, one more thing I forgot to mention. And so 2 years ago, we started filming this documentary film that I'm the subject of. And then COVID happened. And then the filmmaker himself has been having some health issues on and off. But we're supposed to wrap this up that late this spring. And then the next Comic-Con I do, we're going to have a viewing of the documentary. It's called Ink for Blood by a young filmmaker named Callan High, who actually made me his senior year in film school, kind of his senior project, but it's grown beyond that. And so I'm excited just to kind of see that. And he's been very intrigued about telling my story of how long I've wanted to do this kind of stuff and continuing to do it with a lot of the roller coaster, but also balancing what it's like to be a new dad and continue to try and do this stuff. That's part of what and leaving a legacy for my daughter.
It's all juggling. But you and Colton and Mark are all like me. It's like, even if you never make it, I'm never going to stop writing and creating. That's who I am. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and I think I personally think I've already accomplished beautiful things. I've had many decades ago when I was doing poetry, I had people I didn't even know come up to me and say how much my poetry helped them in whatever life thing they were going through. You know what I mean? I've had young filmmakers tell me that my films and my writing and scripts have inspired them. You know what I mean? So, and the same thing I'm guessing that Colton and you have experienced. You've already inspired people. You know what I mean? Like what you were just referencing with this kid doing a focus on you. You know what I mean? So those are real tangible accomplishments regardless of fiscal success. You know what I mean?
I think that's a big breakthrough for me as I get older, is that, at one time I used to have a dream to own an IP generator studio where I'd bring in my like-minded colleagues and we would kind of do like a Bad Robot or something, J.J. Abrams, where you create things and sometimes you create a kid's book or you create a video game or you create comics and you create, and I've had to sort of dial in those expectations. And then the next one was to be able to make enough revenue that you make cultivating IP your day job. Had to dial that back a little bit and just be like, that I'm learning to make it work.
The goal is to be able to make a living, even if it isn't an amazing living, but to make a living at what you love to do. I get that. You know what I mean? You'd like to make a living, regardless of what kind of living, at being able to create your IPs and your comics. We lost Colton again. He said his phone was overheating.
But yeah, I think that's important, and I feel better that I feel more in a quasi Zen-like place with all of it as each passing year goes, to learn to not be so sensitive to things not fitting in with your vision. You know what I mean?
No, believe me, I'm about to turn 51 next Saturday, and I'm still working at a fine dining restaurant. I could get all depressed and sad about that, but that's, first of all, that would accomplish nothing. And that's just reality. And I'm grateful for the job that I make good enough money along with my other jobs that I can pay my bills and still have time to focus on my art and my creations and my dreams and my aspirations and all those things. You know what I mean? Because I got to keep Lola fed, you know.
Well, and your spirit fed, because, you know, it's people, it's hard to believe when I say this out loud, but I'm not vain about my age. In 4 years, I'll be 60 years old. And that seems pretty unreal. You know what I mean? But I still have this kind of young enthusiasm. My daughter does keep me young, but, you know, there was a period there when I was telling myself a few to several years back, if I don't have certain things done by the time I hit this certain age, I never told anybody what the age was. I'm like, then I'll kind of know it's time to pack it in. But
yeah,
I've even kind of let that. I've let that go.
To yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I've let that go.
I'll be 70, and regardless of whether I've been able to make money or not, I will still be writing, still be creating, because that's who I am. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, trust me. And well, go ahead. Sorry, Mark.
Oh, it's okay. I was gonna say, you know, Morgan Freeman didn't really hit it big until he was 52.
Well, and they've always bring up Stan Lee.
I hate to interrupt, but it's a great story. Do you know that while Colton was off, he was writing me, and what had happened is he had put his phone in his crotch and it started overheating, and a small flame lit his jeans up, and he was literally on fire in his crotch. It's amazing. We have some video of it. We're going to be showing it soon.
We cannot display that. That is.
Oh, sorry.
No, I would just like to add, Tom, to what you were saying. You know, like at the beginning of this call about like how you're saying certain networks were saying, you know, we've never heard of this. Why would we want this? I'm not sure if you know this, and JD, maybe you've heard of this, but believe it or not, that's what the imbeciles at Disney said about Back to the Future. They said, who would want a script like this? What would we do with this? But I'm saying you hear it all the time. You know, there's so many projects that were passed up by network execs that said they knew, that they knew everything that there needs to know about, like, is, you know, producing content or what sells or what's hot or whatever. But imagine how stupid the Disney execs felt when Back to the Future blew up, or The Princess Bride blew up. Like, imagine, like, I mean, The Princess Bride.
Or Stephen King got rejected like 100 times before he actually got picked up as a novelist.
But, like, I mean, could you imagine legitimately being an executive producer in '86 when Back to the Future came out, and sitting at your desk, being that guy that you and the board meeting push that director and writer away, saying, we can't doing it. We don't see potential in this. We don't like I could only imagine having a stomach filling of crap. Someone's going to fire me now for being an idiot.
The board.
Yeah. Or like you're the guy that actually greenlit John Carter from Mars.
I love that movie, just so you know. I enjoyed that one, actually.
I actually liked it, but do you know they spent like $300 million on it? So like, I don't know what they spent $300 million on. I have no, like, they were taking the entire cast and crew out to Lobster every night. I have no idea.
Wait, $300 million on a Carpenter movie?
No, and John Carter from Mars.
Oh, oh yeah, that's a movie. Yeah, I don't know. I thought you said a John Carpenter movie. I was going to say.
Yeah, what? And it didn't even today's date. It still hasn't even made half of its budget back.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Yeah, but who spends $300 million on a? You should never have had to spend $300 million on a film. Like, I don't know what they were doing that they were blowing somewhere. Someone was either taking money or they were literally just blowing money on like buying lobster, limoing everywhere. Like,
I mean, it would be different if, you know, with, you know, Marvel in all the Marvel cast. I mean.
Yeah, but even in the biggest Marvel films, I think they spent maybe $150 million, dude. And this was like back in the.
This was like
2000s when John Carter from Mars came out, and they spent like $300 million, dude. Like, and they were trying to chase the Avatar crowd, and Avatar it spent like half that.
And Avatar, honestly, to me, it seemed like it was a fluke in the system. Nothing in it made sense of why it made as much money as it did. That's one of the few times you can't reproduce that. I mean, really, Avatar had a mediocre plot and was essentially selling the idea of the gimmick that everyone was doing then, which was 3D, and somehow they turned that into, you know, $3 billion. But I mean, I think it was a fool's dream to try to recreate that again.
Which is what John Carter they were trying to do. But
yeah.
And hey, it's the same thing that Amazon keeps trying to do. We'll see how Wheel of Time turns out, but basically that guy just said, find me a Game of Thrones. Bezos just told them to find him a Game of Thrones.
Well,
they went and bid a bunch of money for the Wheel of Time IP and got that. Same thing what he did for his MMY. All of his games have failed because he's like, oh, make me a game like this. Make me like he keeps just going like, make me that because that made money.
Well,
that's not really how those things work.
Well, I'm sure you saw this. This was new. I believe it's Amazon. I always confuse Amazon and Hulu with what they're doing production wise. So I could be wrong, but I believe it's Amazon. They're doing the Lord of the Rings TV show, which is,
they are, and they were going to make a Lord of the Rings MMO, but they canceled that after their failure of New World. Oh wait, Colton, you froze again, man.
So they do have Lord of the Rings online. That was
from a different company, but they were going to make a Lord of the Rings MMO tied in with the new TV series they're doing. But after like they've made like 3 games so far, Amazon Game Studios, and all of them have failed miserably. So
I think he's coming back. There he is.
There you are.
There you are.
Am I back?
Did it fall in your crotch again, man?
There goes the fire again.
I'll just reiterate what you've been saying, JD, though. I think that the best advice anyone can, I guess, heed from other people's experiences in the end, just like you keep saying, be honest with yourself and how you create rather than chasing things or, putting expectations that aren't necessarily kind of in tune with, I think, and sometimes people have a hard time dialing in what that means for themselves, honest expression.
And I think it's also based on experience. When I first 10, 15 years, I did it over and over and over again, where I wanted this big boom moment where all of a sudden I'm famous and well-known, and someone came in and said, oh my God, you're brilliant. Here's money. Go make whatever you're going to make.
Yeah. The Cinderella story.
Yeah. And that's just, you learn that, no, man, all giant great things are a bunch of small steps put together. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So just to focus on the small steps.
Well, and at times I have to remind myself, like what I brought up at the beginning of the program, is that I've had some pretty cool opportunities, published in USA Today and having stuff on The Big Bang Theory when that was a hot show. I've had some things that have been milestones that sometimes I forget that those are milestones that I need to be grateful for. And, because I was still too much kind of tied into my ultimate vision of what, I guess if I was writing the script of my life, I'm the next George Lucas, those kinds of things. And so I've had to remind myself,
well, it's not that they're not attainable, but it's usually not when we're coming up and we have faith in our talent and our ability, and we have enough life experience where we're comparing it to colleagues, and you always kind of come above them as far as imagination, ability, all that kind of stuff. You just think, oh, okay, well, this is going to happen because of that. You just realize that it doesn't work like that. And it's a bunch of small steps, and it's a bunch of work, and it's a bunch of putting effort in and never giving up and doing all of those things. Well, like we talked about earlier, Stephen King literally had like 100-something rejections before he finally got accepted. And that guy, I don't even know how much money he's made in films, books, all of it together. But it's you just got to keep at it, keep faith, can you imagine after his 50th rejection if he had just said, screw it, I'm never going to make it?
Well, the funny thing is the documentary, I've seen a rough cut of it. That's exactly what it opens up in the title card. Is I think it's an example of like Thomas Edison and the invention of the light bulb. There's some sort of quote about how many attempts there are to do something. And imagine if you would have given up on that one time that something finally broke through. So it's the same kind of philosophy going on.
Well, and you're going to have a bunch of haters around you. They're going to try to get you to give up. You're going to have a bunch of people that they gave up, and they want everyone to give up too, so it somehow justifies them giving up. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
And you just got to ignore all that and just have faith in who you are as a person, and also understand what we talked about, the ultimate truth that creating and imagining and world building and all of those things are just who you are. And you're going to keep doing it regardless of whether you make money on it or not till you die, because you would be unhappy otherwise.
Oh, for sure. In fact, several years ago, I had a bit of an existential crisis for like a minute where I was looking at, focusing too much on aging a little bit and the time I had ahead as opposed to what was behind me, and kind of feeling like, well, I'm not going to have the time to make any of this happen. And I literally, for a very brief time, tried to say, okay, I'm going to put this on the shelf. I'm going to live a normal life and just do my job and enjoy, socializing with friends in the evening. And that didn't work out. I knew after a week of even attempting that, I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I'm not being honest. That's not who I am. I can't escape it. As painful as it is to go with the highs and lows, like you said, it's in my DNA. I'm wired to do it, and I will be wired to do it until the day that I leave this earth.
No, I mean, it's just, I'm going to just keep creating and world building and all that stuff because it's my biggest Jones. It's what makes me who I am. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's more to me than that, but it's a major part of me, just like I'm going to keep playing video games because I love video games. I'm going to keep reading books because I'm uncomfortable if I don't have a book to read. You know what I mean? These are all integral parts to who I am. And it's learning to accept that without saying, well, to justify it, I need to be world famous and have success and all that kind of stuff. Otherwise, I should give it up. And we all do that, believe me. But you have to come to a point where you just go, hey, screw all that stuff. I'm going to keep doing it because that is who I am and what I love to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
what were you going to say, Mark?
No, I was going to say, no, I agree with both. I mean, it's just, you can't stop. If you stop, then that, creativity stops. And then you think to yourself, why did I waste my time doing this to begin with? But, that's just, internal conflict. And if you fight yourself, you're only going to lose. And so that's when you come together with yourself, like you said, Tom, and, think about it, push through it, and, motivate yourself in order to get it done. And at that point, you find out what you were meant to do and why you were doing it in the first place. And it's just creating. Love to create, love, building a world, like JD said. So
well, and I will say this, that and I don't knock anybody like kind of in the position of Jon Favreau with like The Mandalorian and and the Book of Boba Fett, where somebody's passionate about taking someone else's world that they built and kind of adding their own flavor to it. I know for me personally, building everything from scratch, from the ground up stories is still, that's like you said, that's what I've been jonesing to do since I was a young child. And so there's no better zing creatively for me than actually creating a world and creating all the logical rules about how this world works and the creators that kind of spring to life in a way on their own. And like you said, that's where I have to kind of remind myself of my own hero's journey to sort of work through and slay my demons and dragons while I continue to pursue this kind of way of living. And I will say that the fulfilling part is, even the comic now, getting the comic out for people who've literally been waiting 7 to 9 years, which I love, by the way. They've been very loyal about not jumping ship, because they've been so intrigued by the concepts and the designs and all the ancillary materials. They're like, I really want to read the story. So it's been really cool to get the comic out because of the Kickstarter, for people coming to me saying, hey, I love this. I can't wait to read more. And so that was another kind of sort of shot in the arm that I sort of kind of used for myself to say, yeah, this is, your instincts are right. Keep doing this. Keep moving forward.
No, and plus, like I'll tell you what, I think all my scripts and world building for each script, from Blade and Blood to the Mafia one I just did last year, Female Driven God Among Sheep, I think they're all great. But I felt like it was the greatest moment of my life when 2 weeks ago, even though I felt this after each one I wrote, but I came up with one called The Dream, and I think it's going to literally be the best thing I've ever done, and I've been world building on it for 2.5 weeks, and I really feel like it's the feeling is almost better than self-masturbation, man, to some great porn. You know what I mean? Really, it's literally and the reason I'm saying all this is because what I'm talking about, that all three of us and all four of us share, is that moment, that feeling of creation and that feeling of like, oh my God, this world is just, and it absorbs everything that you are. That is who we are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I'm never going to release that epiphany, those ephemeral moments of when, of having that, regardless of financial means, you know what I mean, or success, or any of those things. Plus, I think as you get older, you realize you don't need other people to know that you're talented. You know what I mean? You've done enough work where
you got to
should have
balance
faith
it
in
out.
yourself.
Yeah, balance it out, not being an arrogant jerk, but also realizing to keep on a certain path, you have to kind of recognize what you feel is working and feel confident in that too.
Yeah. Because otherwise you're going to be self-delusional like me and really suck, but think you're great. You know what I mean? So, or you're going to be really talented like Colton, but drop overheating phones into their crotch and have like flames coming up.
No, I agree. I think when it comes to ego as an artist, I feel like there's a good happy medium that, no one ever likes the arrogant a-hole guy. And, I know in a lot of ways that was me 4 or 5 years ago. I thought because I could put something together that it was, and it like, reality hits you. I always remember when I shot my first feature film, I was still a high school kid. And I remember my ego was so high, I thought I was like, man, like Paramount, they're going to be like kissing my ass to get me in their studio. But, it was a complete garbage fest that, like, you learn from, like, you grow in. But I do know people that are, way more talented than me, but they have no ego at all. So meaning they're never going to get the gig. They're never going to get the job. They're never going to get, because you have to.
No, you have to have some to be able to get what you need done.
Like I've noticed that every job, I'll be frank to, with you, Tom. Obviously, of course, I don't know too much about, the comic book industry, but I do know the film industry. And rather, if you're a director, a writer, a camera op, you want to be the composer for someone, you need to have.
Wow, that is such an anticlimactic moment, dude. That's like I have the forbidden fruit, and I'm going to show it to you. And right as he's about to show it,
poof,
there goes the flames in his lap again.
Oh well, it's live. That's what makes life such an adventure, right?
Well, again, except this time it has nothing to do with us. Before, that would happen all the time because of our tech.
Well, and I will say this,
because he's driving around,
yeah,
and his Wi-Fi is going in and out.
But I will say that the new format and everything, I'm very impressed, guys. I think it looks great. I think it's very polished. It's kind of see you guys to kind of step it up to another level. And so just, being on here as a guest, but also watching it as we're talking, I wanted to compliment you guys on that. I think it's cool to see kind of where this has gone.
Well, it's all Mark. The only part I had to do with that is saying I didn't want to do anymore unless it did happen.
Well, I like it. I like it because Tom, you've worked with the best of the best, and when it comes to Marvel, not a lot of people have that opportunity, and that's even though you've had that, and you've gotten away from that, you're still working with with getting your stuff out, just like every indie person, and that's why I like this show, is because it's shedding light on people that have the talent, and they don't really see people they don't really get people to look at their talent, and so this actually does shed a light on people in the indie world or the indie community, in order to get their projects seen. And a lot of people that have come to the show made connections as friends. I believe we had a relationship, if I'm not mistaken, JD.
Oh, I don't think of you like that, Mark.
No, not us. No, we have friendship.
Yes, we had a couple. Well, what it was Andrews introduced his friend to Jeanette.
Yeah,
and they were guests together, and that was the only reason they knew each other. They were guests on our show, and then now I think those people are engaged. So one of our guests, they became friends. The two guests became friends. The one guest introduced her to one of his friends, and now they're like engaged to be married. Yeah.
So you guys kind of have like a side talent as matchmakers. It sounds like that.
The indie matchmaker.
I will say this though, that even and I have nothing against like the big juggernaut of pop culture stuff. I mean, I grew up loving Star Trek and Star Wars and the Marvel and DC superheroes, but when it comes to like the film comics community, there's a bit of an interconnectivity that I enjoy, where at heart I'm an indie guy. I love seeing fresh voices. I love kind of the adventure of what that means to indie creators, where like you're talking about, there's a tenacity there to get your work out there no matter what, and I think that's incredibly important. And to me, you're sort of exposing yourself to a new kind of influence by meeting fellow indie creators, whether it's in whatever genre it is.
The whole point of this show to begin with, and now I think we finally have the tools to make it happen. I think I give us kudos for 2.5 years to do the 46 episodes we did. But I think finally we now have Mark has put together an actual show with the tech and all that stuff. Not counting Colton. Colton was happening because Colton was driving around and losing Wi-Fi over and over again, and overheating his phone in his private parts. But we won't talk about that.
I love watching Colton's reactions.
This is where you need a button where when I said that, little flames came up like from Colton's bottom screen. You know what I mean? That would have been awesome right there, dude. You need like your little
one person button. I want to mention real quick while I think about it, and because I think I've seen all of us on his group, is James Neil Brodus with The Advisor.
Yeah, very cool guy, man. He's always sharing stuff.
And very supportive, and he actually is the guy that hooked me up with Bishop. That's how Salem Tusk even got rolling, because he saw a drawing I did of the character from years ago and tagged Bishop in that post. And that's how, so I appreciate people like him too, that have been very supportive.
Yeah. And he always shares some of my stuff and everything like that. And he does that for a lot of people. He does. And it's very beautiful. And that's the whole reason I've done this show was to give light to people, give a spotlight to people and introduce them to new people that they maybe don't know. You know what I mean? And besides the relationship one that Mark mentioned, there has been a lot of connections from our show of people then acting in their films, or, you know what I mean? Or just getting to know each other and support each other, or we've had a few that have become like super good friends with each other. You know what I mean? So, that's all beautiful, and to be able to provide that opportunity has always been. And no matter where I go, even if I got, heaven forbid, if I found success making film or video games or whatever it is, I've already made the commitment to Mark that as long as our tech was up, I would still commit to doing this show. You know what I mean? So. Mm-hmm. Because I think it's important. I think it's important, even if you're a big filmmaker, to do something along these lines and to provide a light. I think it would be even more important if I had success to do a show like this and provide light and opportunities to young and up and coming voices.
Well,
you know what I mean?
In a way, it's kind of like giving back to the community.
Yeah, because can you imagine that instead of Jada Pinkett Smith or Will Smith just basically doing a hobnob with all their other celebrity friends, actually went and found young indie artists to do that with?
Yeah.
That would be way more impressive to me than what they do with the whole red table of like, let's air our dirty laundry with me and my very famous friends.
Well, yeah. See, that's why I kind of like Netflix series shows. I've come across a lot of Netflix shows that are actually owned by Netflix, where it has people that I've never ever seen before, and they have talent, but it's not, you have people now who are celebrities who are getting into these network shows.
Yeah, the problem though is when these celebrities become celebrities, all they want to, even if they're doing like indie type shows, all they ever do is do it with other celebrities.
Right, and in the Netflix shows though, they do bring like a celebrity in, but they do bring a lot of fresh faces in the casting.
Well, and it's the way it should happen, man. That's you got to when you make it as an artist in the old school tribal days, you should be leaving a door behind you and leaving your hand out to help young ones come up, man. And for some reason, that went a lot of times to the wayside. Tarantino is the only one I know that's done that numerous times. He did it with Rodriguez. Rodriguez wouldn't be known unless Tarantino lifted him up and introed him to everybody and got him the connections to make Desperado. He did that with, I think, the guy that made Hostel. He did the same thing with him, saw a short film, lifted him up, made a connection so he can make his films. But most of these people don't, man. They make it, and then now all of a sudden the only people they interact with are other famous people. You know what I mean?
Well, and sometimes I feel like there's conditioning there from some of the handlers and the PR people telling them and convincing them that this is a very fickle business. You better make sure you stay on your perch. The moment you help someone, that's going to be somebody taking your place. And so I think a lot of people.
Yeah, but that's such bullshit, man. That's like an insecurity thing, man.
Oh, for sure. But I'm saying I think that's why it goes on. But it is refreshing to see. Well, and, you know, I was talking earlier, like about Facebook and stuff. One of the things that I'm grateful for as a positive byproduct of social media age is that every single opportunity I've ever had has been because of the new connections I've made on Facebook.
Yeah, almost all my films have been funded through
helping
Facebook
each other out. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
so Facebook has been kind of nurturing that for sure. So it is nice to know that kind of balances it out somewhat. I'm trying to, by the way, I kind of mentioned this earlier. I'm looking at the time. It is probably going to be close.
Yeah, I'm wrapping up right now.
Okay,
to
get my daughter down to
Colton
sleep.
to actually be back before I wrapped up. And I wanted to also make sure he was okay because I think I saw some smoldering smoke rising up through his camera. So
no, that was just some. That was my my dealer stuff that he had me try. It's my new branch.
There we go.
I mean, it's Bravado, right?
My theory, now granted, it's probably because I was born with the last name Glasscock, but my theory has always been you must have the ability to laugh at yourself. No matter how talented or skilled you are, you could be the best whatever ever. If you cannot laugh at yourself, you're probably not someone I want to deal with. You know what I mean? Because then you're probably way too serious and way too arrogant, and way too whatever. You know what I mean? Now, granted, not all of us are born with the last name Glasscock. You know what I mean? But still, I think that's something that all people should build within themselves, the ability to laugh at oneself, take humor from other people at oneself. The self-deprecating thing. But anyway, okay, you guys, thank you so much. And my guests, anyone that has watched this or will watch it somewhere in the near future, this is our first episode in probably 6 or 7 months. I don't know when. I'd have to look. But anyway, this is episode 47 with some amazing guests. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Now, Mark, you need to work on actually links to our actual Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, so that they actually know where to find all that.
I actually will say, when I first jumped on, JD, my Twitter handle was actually on my name at first.
Oh, really?
Yes,
was there.
and that's something that I will fix. For a coming,
and then you should put our links up to our so that the fans of our guests can actually go find all this stuff. So like the Facebook page, the Twitch page, the YouTube page, there should be links to that during the show. You know what I mean? So anyway, but we're working on it. To me, it is. I give you kudos, Mark. I love you. It is a far jump up from, even Tom said it, a jump up from where we were. So. It's very beautiful. Thank you guys for showing. What I'd like to end it with, and then I'll wrap it up real quick and say goodbye, is you guys give one piece of advice to all the young visionary artists out there that watch this. So we'll start with Tom. Give you one piece of advice to young up-and-coming artists.
It'll kind of be along the lines of the whole theme of this whole episode has really been about be honest with yourself, never doubt yourself, keep pushing forward, no matter what you run into.
Gotcha. And Colton?
Pretty much what Tom said, just like never give up, just keep going. Just And if no one hires you, just make your own damn projects. Someone eventually will take notice.
Yeah,
and try to avoid overheating phones in your lap.
Yeah. And try to be at home, when you're going to jump on a podcast.
Yeah.
Hey, you made it work, dude. You made it work, dude.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Very beautiful blessings to my guests. Beautiful blessings to Mark, Lola. Come on, Lo. Sorry. Lola.
No, you're good.
I also want to say real quick while JD gets up, great to see you, JD and Mark again. It's been a while. And Colton, great to meet you online this way.
Yeah.
Actually interact with you. So
yeah, I know, it's cool, man.
I feel like I'm a little closer to you now. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So I'm adding y'all's links right now into the comments. It's going to be hitting Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook.
Okay, cool.
Okay, guys. So very beautiful blessings to my guests. Thank you very much for being a part of it. Beautiful blessings to Lola, who was totally asleep and now pissed at me that I woke her up. And then Mark for making all this happen and really upping our game as far as our tech. We'll keep expanding and work on the link stuff. This is our first episode, so it's by far much better than what we used to have. And then I look forward to you artists out there to someday interview you. So if you want that to happen and you have some work behind you, because it is an hour and a half show, so you need some actual work behind you for us to want to bring you on, but get that done. Like both of them said, and Colton emphasized, go get your shit shot. And then bring it to us, and we'll put a spotlight on you. But big loves, big deep faith and prayers to you to keep dreaming, because this is called Stormcrow Dreamers talking to dreamers. As always, keep dreaming.
Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Blessings.
All right. Yep, I'm going to sign out here. Thanks, guys.
Oh my God.
Thanks
Oh my
for
God.
having me out,
Something's
JD.
burning.